So today what we got is a preset that's mimicking Steve Vai's tone and sounds on his Ballerina 1224 song, All Passion and Warfare. If you're not familiar with that song, it's got this really cool delay pitch shift effect on it. But before we get to that, let's start with just kind of the bass clean tone. And in this tone, what I tried to do was mimic another song from that same album called Sisters, which is this real kind of spanky clean tone. And the way I achieved that here, which is different than he did, because I believe on that album, that song, he's actually just recording it direct. So there's actually no amp involved in that tone. He's just got the guitar going through a DI box and into effects. But I'm using an amp. And what I'm using is I'm using the Johns Channel 1. This is a new amp that came out, I believe, with the 2.0 release. And I'm running that into a Zillow Open Gold 19 2x12 cabinet. In front of that, I've got some pretty heavy compression with the dual compression here, and then some amount of chorus effect. The mix is pretty high, but this chorus is pretty subtle, so you don't really hear it too much. And so before we get into some of the path routing, let's hear the clean tone on its own. So it's got that nice kind of spanky tone that's from the Sister song. And so then for the Ballerina effect, we've got a few things going on here. So if you'll notice, let's run through this line by line. So line 1, we've got our main amp. And after the amp and the speaker, the first thing we do is we're splitting it off. And we've got this path running one of the pitch shifters. It's doing a fifth up, and it's delaying that 180 milliseconds. If you look at what I'm doing with the delay here, I've got 100% mix and no feedback. So this is basically giving you one delayed kind of note that the pitch shifter has shifted up, and it's pushing it out 180 milliseconds. And we're running that out to the multi-out. So we're not taking that split back in to the main path. We're just sending it to the output. And so I gave it its own reverb. And I am using a gain stage here because I noticed when I engaged the effect, I was losing a good amount of volume. So I'm doing two things with this gain block. One, I'm pumping up the level, and two, I'm panning this signal pretty hard to the right, not all the way. If I was panning all the way to the right, I could just change the output to use, the output for something like that. But instead, I'm just panning it almost all the way to the right because I didn't want a full pan. So it splits and it goes out. And then the path continues along to row 3. I'm splitting again to the second pitch shift, which is a ninth. And that one is delayed 90 milliseconds, which is half of the other delay, if you'll notice. And then that too has its gain block pumping up the level, and I'm panning this one to the left, and it's got its own reverb. So we're using a plate lush on all these reverbs, mix it 22.5. And then on the main signal path, I also have a gain block, not as much going out, and this one's centered. So the kind of the main tone is continuing to pass through the center channel. And then again, I got the same reverb. Here's the affected. So if you're not familiar with the tone, all he's doing is playing like, I think they're eighth notes or something, kind of like this. And when you engage the effect, it sounds like this. So that is the Steve Vai Ballerina clean tone. Again, like most of my presets, this is on my Quad Cortex account. The link's in the description. You can feel free to download it and play with it. Play around with other pitch shifts. It's a really cool effect, a really cool idea. I find it's kind of very inspiring to try out different things. So enjoy.